Welcome to the Sew Along 2018, where we're making a quilt with a very distinct New Zealand flavour to it. We're using some lovely fabrics by Nutex with a very strong New Zealand flavour to them. We've been making blocks for a while now, and we're up to block 23. So I've got the 23rd block sitting up here. We're making a total of 25 blocks, so we're doing well. So this one here is like a little pinwheel star, so it's kind of fun to make. So we're just starting off making some little pieces with the different colours in, and so we make 2 of each block. And so I've made one, obviously. If you've already purchased the pattern from GourmetQuilter.com, you'll have the download with the instructions, how to cut and all the rest of it there. So I'm just going to quickly go through what it is that I've done, because we've been making quite a few blocks now. We know the techniques, so I'm not going through every aspect. So what we have to do initially to start making the little pinwheels in the center here is to make some half square triangles. So we're making half square triangles with 2 colors, and then we need to make some half square triangles using the background fabric as well. So I've gone ahead and done most of my half square triangles here. So just to make the half square triangle, all we're doing is putting 2 squares together, sewing along the diagonal there, and then we're going to trim off half and press that open, and then we find we have a very nice little square. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that and press it, so that's what we're doing. So you need to make 4 for the center and 4 for the outside points of the star. So the outside ones are teamed up with the background fabric, and the 4 in the center are teamed up with the other color. Like in this case, I've done a grey on the one I had made before, has got a red in the centres for the little pinwheels. So it's as simple as that. Just make quite a few of these, so 4 and 4, which makes 8. So I've got those ready, and then there's just some plain squares to go with it. So this is not a 9 patch block, this is one that's 4 by 4, so strictly I guess a 16 patch. So we just need to set them out now. So we're using some of the plain background squares as well to build out the block. And we've got our pinwheel in the middle here. And turn him around so that we get the pinwheel behaving as it should, like a pinwheel. And pop our other ones here so that we get those points coming out like blades on the pinwheel. Or it could be a little star, it could be pretty much anything you want it to be. So I've laid all that out now, ready to sew. So I'm just going to sew 4 rows of 4 squares, and then I'm going to join those 4 rows together. It's the same as we've been doing, joining up rows, so I'm sure you don't need to watch me do all of that, but I'll come back and talk about which way to press the seams and things like that as well. So I've finished sewing the block together. So with this, as I mentioned before, it's 4 by 4, so there's 16 little patches. So I made 4 rows of 4 little squares. Now, because we've got all these little angled triangles and the seams and things meeting, it does make it a little bit fiddly. Keep an eye on your seam allowance, otherwise things can go a little bit awry. And then when you're sewing, after you've sewn your 4 rows together, what I did was sew mine in 2 halves, so I sewed 2 pairs together, and then I pressed those seams before I put the 2 halves together. So I pressed one seam one way, and I pressed the other seam one way as well. And then when I've joined the 2 halves together, I've actually pressed that center seam open, because it's quite bulky where everything meets with all these little corners. So as I said, just keep an eye on your seam allowance, because things can go a little bit out of plumb. But I think that if you just take your time, enjoy making the block, that actually everything will work out fine. Mine seems pretty good, so yours can't be too bad either. So that's the second block here that we've made. So I'm pretty pleased with all of that. This is block number 23 finished, so there's just a couple more blocks to go, and we'll be able to put our quilts together. So thank you for block 23, and we'll see you for block 24.